welcome back. Today we will be discussing question number 3 of the past paper 970042 May-June 2023. So let us start. Question number 3a says the sea blush Plecteritis conjusta is a flowering plant that grows on the west coast of North America. So you have been given the information, which is a simple information that there is one plant, sea blush plant, and it is growing on the west coast of North America. The next information is individual sea blush plants produce fruit that is either winged or wingless. So you have to see this one, which is important information. There is a fruit. The sea blush plants produce fruit that is either winged or wingless. It means we are getting two different traits or we are getting two different phenotypes. Investigations have shown that this characteristic is controlled by a single gene with two alleles. So a single gene with two alleles. And as you know, gene is the coding part of DNA which makes protein, and allele is the alternative version of a gene. If you see these two bullet points, you have been given a dominant winged fruit allele. So you have basically two genes, which we can also say two alleles. One is giving the fruit winged appearance, winged, and that is dominant. Dominant means like it needs only one allele out of two to appear. So it's a dominant one, it is appearing. And the other is wingless fruit allele, or which is giving the wingless fruit appearance or phenotype to this plant, and it is recessive. Recessive means, if I tell you, what does this mean? Dominant winged means if you have, let us just for example take the letter W for winged fruit. So your alleles combination should be big W, or it should be big W, small w. It means if the fruit, winged fruit is there, so it should have the allele combination in this way, big W or big W, small w. Now what about the recessive? Recessive means when you have wingless fruit, it should have both small w. So the allele combination, the only allele combination in the genotype will be small w, which I have written over here, for example. But let us see what actually the question is saying. This was more for your recalling the genotype and phenotype. Now, basically we have to see this figure, which is 3.1. So figure 3.1 shows the difference in structure between winged fruit and wingless fruit phenotypes. So this is phenotype. We have to see phenotype. Phenotype means the appearance of the organism. It can be a plant or animal, flower, fruit, whatever, but appearance. How is it appearing? So phenotype, appearance. Okay. If you see figure 3.1, you have been given two diagrams. One is winged fruit, which looks like this. This is the phenotype, one phenotype, and wingless fruit, which is looking like this, and this is another phenotype. So basically we have two phenotypes in this plant, and we have to see what actually is the question. A large sample of sea blush fruits was collected and their fruit wing characteristic was recorded. So a large sample, this is very important. It's not a small sample, large sample of C blush fruits was collected. And what was actually investigated or recorded? The fruit wing characteristic. So fruit wing characteristic. Now the question says name. So whenever the word name comes, so you just maximum need to you need to write one name of certain terminology or any word or any terminology. Name the type of the variation that is shown for the fruit wing characteristic of the sea blush plant, for example. Now, the answer is discontinuous variation. You have to say the type of the variation. And you know, there are two main types of variation, continuous variation and discontinuous variation. Why we cannot say it a continuous variation? As if you see, there are only two phenotypes and they are very clear cut and distinguishable, and these are the qualitative differences and they are really clearly distinguishable, and there are no intermediates between them, like the fruit is winged fruit or wingless fruit. So there is nothing in between winged and wingless. And if you make the if you make the bar, it will be bar. If you make a graph, it will be a bar chart. It will not be a normal distribution curve. So basically, because the phenotype is just falling into two very distinct categories, winged fruit and wingless fruit. That's why we will be dealing it with the answer by writing discontinuous variation. So it's a discontinuous variation. It's not a continuous variation. And if you see, I have underlined this terminology discontinuous because the examiner will be looking for this terminology. So it's important. You cannot have any other different terminology. So you have to write the discontinuous type of variation. So discontinuous is the actual word which the examiner will be looking for. And the mark is 1. Number 2. Different sea blush plants can have fruit with different colors. Now, we are going ahead that we have the sea blush plant and they can have fruit with different colors. What is the command word over here? The command word is suggest. So when the command word suggest comes, usually we need to write some evidence or reasons why is it happening so. So how many reasons? Basically you have to write two ways, two reasons, and you will be getting 2 marks. So suggest 2 ways in which a new fruit color could naturally occur in a sea blush population. Now, if you see, the fruit color variation can be the result of different things. For example, it can be new alleles formation or a combination of new alleles, because after sexual reproduction, or after gametes formation, when the random fertilization it takes place, the alleles combine in a new or a different way, and there is a possibility that the new or different colors of the fruit can appear. The second point can be, it can be the result of cross-pollination. Two different phenotypic, two different plants with different phenotypes can cross, and they can have the cross-pollination, which can be leading to the different and variation in the fruit colors. For example, It can be the result of selection pressure, like there can be certain environmental factor which is actually affecting the fruit color, for example. So for example, it can be the soil type, it can be the water availability, it can be the sunlight, or it can be pH of the soil, etc. So selection pressure is actually some environmental factor which is actually affecting the fruit color. Then it could be the result of mutation. Possibly the genes can mutate and they can have different genotypes or a different set of genes which can lead to different colors in the fruit color. So anyways, you just have to write two. It could be any, and the marks are 2. So you'll be getting 2 marks for that. Number 3. Okay. So number 3 part says early taxonomists. And who are the taxonomists? Taxonomists who classify the living organism into hierarchical classification or making different classes. We call them taxonomists. Okay. Early taxonomists classified sea blush plants with winged fruit as a different species to sea blush plants with wingless fruit. Okay. The question says that initially or early, the scientists believed that the plants having the winged fruits and the other plants having wingless fruits, actually they belong to two different species. Then what happened? Since that time, evidence from observations and experiments has confirmed, now it's been confirmed, that the plants belong to the same species. It's not the different species. Both the phenotypes, the winged fruits and the wingless fruits, is actually belonging to the same species. Now, suggest means you have to give at least 3 examples. Command word is suggest, so you have to give 3 examples. I'm sorry, I have to delete this. Okay, you have to give at least 3 examples of the evidence. Again, a kind of reasons obtained that help to confirm that these sea blush plants belong to the same species. How can you say that these two plants belong to the same species? So tell some evidence. So there are basically 3 reasons or 3 evidences you have to provide in order to make it that it belongs to the same species. So it could be, of course, then basically in this question what we have to say or what we have to go for, that we have to basically go for the species main requirement or species definition. If they can interbreed with one another to produce fertile offspring, of course, then they are the same species. If their morphology, which is the external appearance, physiology, their working, biochemistry, their internal biochemistry details are similar, yes, that is another evidence which can lead us to the idea that they belong to the same species. And above all, the DNA and the genomes. If the DNA or the DNA sequencing is providing us the details and it is providing us that they belong to they are similar, so that will also be an evidence that they belong to the same species. So 3 marks.